Alright, factoring binomials. When factoring binomials, there are a few things you want to look for. Number one, you would want to look for common factors. Take a problem like 3x squared minus 9x. To factor this problem, you would want to take out a common factor of 3x. Write the remainder inside your parentheses. You would have x minus 3. Remember, when you factor, to check your factoring, multiply it back together and make sure that you would end up with what you started with. If you multiply the 3x times the x, you would get the 3x squared, and 3x times the negative 3, you would end up with the negative 9x. So 3x squared minus 9x factors into 3x times x minus 3. After looking for any common factors, the next thing that you would want to look for would be some of our special binomial patterns. The first binomial pattern I would look for would be the a squared minus b squared pattern, which is called the difference of two squares pattern. The difference of two squares pattern is the a squared minus b squared pattern, and this pattern factors into a minus b times a plus b. Let's look at an example. You may be given a problem like 16x squared minus 25. When looking at this problem, you want to think about what is a, what is the a term, and what is the b term. In this problem, the a term would be 4x and the b term would be 5. When you factor it, it's going to factor into 4x minus 5 times 4x plus 5. Now, a common mistake that I see students making is trying to use this pattern with the sum of two squares, a squared plus b squared. A squared plus b squared will not factor into any special pattern like this. The only way that a squared plus b squared will factor would be if it had a common factor. So look for a common factor. If there is no common factor, then this binomial just will not factor. Another pattern to look for when you are working with binomials would be the difference of two cubes. This is a pattern where you have a perfect cube minus a perfect cube. When you have a perfect cube minus a perfect cube, this will factor into a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay, so a cubed minus b cubed will factor into a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Let's look at an example. For this, let's look at 8x cubed minus 27. Again, we want to look at what is a term, what is the b term. Once you've identified a and b, it makes it a little simpler to be able to factor. Since a is 2x, you'll have 2x minus the b term, which is 3. Now you need the a term squared, so that would be your 2x squared, so 2x times 2x, or 4x squared, plus you need a times b, so you need 2x times 3, or 6x, and then you need the b term squared, or 3 squared, which would be 9. So 8x cubed minus 27 factored into 2x minus 3 times 4x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay. There is another pattern similar to this one. It would be the sum of two squares. I'm sorry, I said sum of two squares, sum of two cubes. Remember, the sum of two squares will not factor. But the sum of two cubes, a cubed plus b cubed, will factor. It factor into something very similar to the difference of two cube pattern. Very similar. It will factor into a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Okay. We could take that very same 8x cubed and the 27, but instead of having a minus sign, let's put a plus sign between them and look at what it would look like. If the problem had been 8x cubed plus 27, the a term would still be 2x, the b term would still be 3. When we go to factor it, it would be the a term plus the b term, or 2x plus 3. We would again need the a term squared, so we would need the 2x squared. 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. This time it would be minus a times b, so 2x times 3 would be 6x. And then at the end it's still plus b squared, or 3 squared, which would be 9. If you take a careful look at these two patterns, you'll notice that in both the a cubed minus b cubed pattern and in the a cubed plus b cubed pattern, that in both of these patterns there is only one negative term. All the other terms are positive. In the a cubed minus b cubed pattern, the negative is in the binomial. In the sum of the two cubes, a cubed plus b cubed, notice that the negative is in the trinomial. It's the middle term. Makes these two patterns just a little bit easier to remember. Alright, so let's review. Okay, so when we are factoring binomials, there are 4 things that we want to look for. Number 1, look for common factors. Always factor out any common factors in your two terms first. After factoring out any common factors, then you want to begin to look for the 3 patterns that we discussed. You may have the difference of two squares, a perfect square minus a perfect square. Remember, this will factor into a minus b times a plus b. Just a reminder, there is no special pattern for the sum of two squares. Then there's a special pattern for the difference of two cubes. Remember, the difference of two cubes will factor into a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. And then the last pattern that you might want to look for would be the sum of two cubes, a cubed plus b cubed. Remember that will factor into a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Alright, hope that was helpful. Keep these things in mind when factoring binomials.